The glass doors of John Corporation gleamed in the morning light as you walked through them for the 100th time that week, but this time your badge carried a different title: Personal Advisor to the CEO. It was a position many didn't understand. Part secretary, part strategist, part confident. To the staff, you were the shadow that trailed behind John Jungkook, the man who ran the company with a ruthless precision. It wasn't a common position in most companies, but here it was almost like being his shadow. You had to manage reports, pre screen important matters before they reached him, accompany him to high profile meetings, and at times simply offer your perspective when he needed clarity. It was demanding, but it came with trust, something Jungkook rarely gave. The staff whispered when you walked by. She's the CEO's new advisor. Isn't she too young for that role? Well, apparently he handpicked her. You tried to ignore the murmurs, focusing on your steps, but you couldn't ignore the other whispers spreading through the office halls because today a new employee joined the company and she wasn't ordinary. Did you see the new CMO? She used to be his girlfriend. Yep, she just joined the marketing team. I wonder why they broke up. He was so cold after her. Maybe the family didn't approve, or maybe she left him. The she was Hannah, the CEO's ex. You had seen her once in the elevator, perfectly poised, beautiful, and confident. She smiled at Jungkook and he didn't scowl back, the first thing that made your heart twist. That entire week you noticed him acting softer, his sharp commands dulled, his expressions less guarded. He even smiled occasionally during meetings, and you told yourself, of course, it must be because she's back. You pushed open the double glass doors to Jungkook's office, balancing a stack of reports. Good morning, sir. You greeted, professional but warm. Jungkook looked up from his screen. His eyes lingered on you longer than necessary before he answered. You are early. I wanted to review the quarterly report before today's strategy meeting. You said, placing the files neatly on his desk. There are a few inconsistencies in the numbers from the finance team. I marked them for you. He leaned back in his chair, gaze flicking from the papers to your face. You went through all of this last night? Yes, you admitted, adjusting your glasses. I thought it was better to catch it before the board sees it. His lips curved slightly, the faintest trace of amusement, or was it admiration, in his expression. Efficient as always. You shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. It's my job. He tilted his head. Her job, he thought, but it felt different with you. He had worked with countless advisors before, people sharp, capable, and driven, but none of them made his office feel less suffocating. With you sitting across the table, the silence wasn't heavy, it was calm. Ever since Hannah joined, you noticed that he started to talk a little more, tries to smile even though it comes out hardly, but enough for you to notice because you do. You like him and you notice everything. The conference room burst with voices as department heads shuffled their papers. You sat at Jungkook's side, ready to intervene if needed. When the head of logistics fumbled over numbers, you leaned in slightly. If I may, the revised figures projects an increase of 12% once the new distribution channel opens. The room quieted, all eyes darted between you and Jungkook. Jungkook didn't interrupt you. Instead, he tapped his pen against the table, nodding slowly. Correct. That's what I was waiting to hear. You gave a polite smile, settling back in your chair. He glanced at you from the corner of his eye. She noticed what I didn't voice yet. He thought, strange, it's like she can read the silence. The meeting had just wrapped up, papers shuffled, chairs scrapped back, and the department heads began filing out with tired expressions. You closed your laptop, ready to follow Jungkook back to his office when a voice broke through. Jungkook, Hannah's tone was polite, professional, but carried a familiarity that made your stomach twist. Could I have a word? You froze mid step. Jungkook paused, one hand on his chair. His gaze flicked briefly toward you before settling on her. Everyone can leave, he said firmly, then his eyes shifted back to you. Wait for me in my office. It wasn't unusual. He often asked you to prep things while he stayed behind, but this time it felt different. Of course. You murmured, keeping your voice steady before slipping out. You hadn't meant to overhear, but as you passed by, their voices carried through the half open door. Jungkook, Hana began, sliding a folder toward him. I know it's been years, but I'm glad we can work together like this. No awkwardness, no bitterness, just colleagues. Your steps faltered. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, expression softening in a way you rarely saw. It was never about bitterness, Hana. Things ended because they had to, but you are good at what you do. I would be a fool not to recognize that. Hannah smiled faintly. Still, it means something to me that you can say it like this now. His lips curved, small but unmistakable. People change. Your breath caught. You had never seen him smile like that during work. The sharp edged CEO, who rarely spared a kind word, now sat across from his ex, his eyes gentle, his tone almost warm. It didn't matter that the conversation was about professionalism and closure. To you, it looked like something else. They still share something. Maybe he never really let her go. By the time Jungkook entered, you were already at his desk, setting out tomorrow's files with mechanical precision. He glanced at you. You didn't have to start without me. I don't mind. You replied curtly, not looking up. He tilted his head slightly, sensing the shift in your tone, but didn't comment. Instead, he dropped the folder Hannah had given him onto the desk. Marketing proposal. Look it over later. Of course. Silence stretched. He studied you for a moment, his brow furrowing. Why does it feel like she's building walls all of a sudden? He thought. But you kept your head down, hiding the ache in your chest. You can't come between them, you told yourself. You were a fool to think these softened edges were because of you. It was late evening, most of the staff had left, leaving the office floors hushed. You were gathering files when you heard two employees chatting near the coffee machine. I saw Mr. John laughing with his ex today. Really? He never laughs. Maybe he's trying to win her back. Wouldn't surprise me. They were serious ones. You froze mid-step, the words stuck like needles in your chest. That day you had caught Jungkook leaning against Hana's desk, his face relaxed in conversation. You couldn't hear what they were saying, but you saw it, his guarded walls down. The apartment was quiet except for the ticking clock on the wall. Papers from work were scattered across your desk, the blue glow of your laptop screen reflecting off the glass of water you hadn't touched. You pressed your forehead against the desk, eyes burning. What the hell is wrong with me? Why do I care so much? You whispered into the silence. The words sounded pathetic when spoken out loud, but they were the truth. I promised myself. You exhaled sharply, lifting your head, staring at the mess of reports you couldn't focus on. I promised myself I wouldn't get attached. This is just a job. He's just my boss, and it's his life. I can't want things for him in my way. But the moment the words left your lips, a bitter laugh followed. Just my boss. You shook your head, leaning back in your chair. Who am I trying to fool? Images of Jungkook flashed in your mind, the way he leaned back in his chair when you spoke in meetings, not interrupting like he did with others, the way his voice lowered when he asked you, did you sleep well? The way his gaze softened for just a second too long when you caught him staring. You hugged your knees to your chest, burying your face against them. But he smiled at her. Your mind whispered cruelly. He looked at her like he used to, like he still does. You groaned, standing up abruptly, pacing across your apartment. No, no, stop it. You are imagining things. But then you remember the conference room, the way his tone softened, the faint smile. God, why did I even stay to hear that? You muttered, gripping your hair. If I hadn't overheard, maybe I wouldn't. Your voice trailed off, breaking. Maybe you wouldn't feel this ache. You sat back down, closing your eyes against your will. You started whispering the words you wished you had the courage to say to him. Do you know what you are doing to me, Jungkook? You said into the silence. Do you even realize how different you are around me? How you listen? How you soften? Do you even realize how dangerous that is for me? You laughed bitterly. Of course you don't, because it's not me, it's her. She is the reason. She always has been, and I'm happy for you. Really happy. The lump in your throat swelled. I'm nothing but your employee, replaceable, forgettable. You covered your mouth with your hands, tears stinging your eyes. Still, your heart whispered, but you want to be more, don't you? The city sprawled beneath him, a sea of lights flickering through the floor to ceiling windows of his penthouse. Jungkook sat on the edge of his leather couch, tie loosened, blazer discarded. He should have been reviewing tomorrow's investor briefings, but his mind kept circling back to one thing: you. More specifically, the way you looked at him earlier when he walked back into his office after that brief conversation with Hannah. You had been there, setting out files like always, but you hadn't looked at him, not once. Your tone was clipped, your answers short, and your eyes distant. That was new. Jungkook racked a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. What the hell happened to her today? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. She's never cold with me. Professional, yes, but never like that. His jaw tightened as he replayed the moment in his head. Your polite nod, the way your voice dropped, I don't mind, when he told you not to start without him. He closed his eyes, pinching the bridge of his nose. Why does it bother me so much? He whispered. He stood pacing across the quiet apartment. Boss and employee. He muttered under his breath. That's all this is supposed to be. She's my advisor, nothing more. But even as he said it, his chest ached with a truth he couldn't suppress. Then why? He stopped, fists clenching at his sides. Why does her presence feel different? Why does the air changes when she walks into my office? His reflection in the window stared back at him, tired eyes filled with something he refused to name. No, it's not just a boss and employee anymore. She makes everything lighter. When she speaks, I actually listen. When she's near, the silence isn't heavy anymore. What the hell are you doing to me? His voice cracked with frustration. You calm me, he whispered to the empty room, and I don't know why. I don't know what this is. Dropping back onto the couch, Jungkook leaned his head against the cushions, staring at the ceiling. I've spent years building walls, years keeping people out, cold, untouchable. That's who I'm supposed to be. He let out a humorless laugh. And now, one woman walks into my office and suddenly, I'm not that man anymore. He rubbed his face with both hands, groaning quietly. What the hell are you doing to me? That woman was not Hannah but you. His chapter with Hannah closed the day when they both found out they weren't meant for each other, and it ended for good. People whispered that it's because one of them cheated or maybe family issues, but that wasn't the case. And the day you became the advisor was the same day Hannah joined the company, and his softness came because of you and not because Hannah was back. For the next few weeks, you forced yourself to stay professional. Your feelings had no place here. This was work, and Jungkook was your boss, nothing more. You reminded yourself of that every morning, every time your heart skipped when his gaze lingered too long, every time his voice softened around you. You told yourself you had no right to feel jealous. There was no promise, no confession, no claim, but jealousy, it had a way of seeping into your bones. No matter how much you resisted, it was a quiet poison eating away at your resolve. And despite all your efforts, you couldn't ignore the way your chest tightened when you saw him speak to Hannah, his eyes gentler than you had ever seen before. You didn't want to come between them. You didn't want your emotions to stain the work you had promised to give him. But the more you tried to suppress it, the more it consumed you, until the only solution you could see was to step away entirely. The glass walls of Jungkook's office reflected the late afternoon sun, turning everything gold. Papers lay neatly stacked on his desk, his laptop glowing faintly as he scanned over charts. But his focus wasn't there. He looked up when you knocked softly. Come in. You stepped inside, clutching a thin folder. Your heart thudded in your chest. Every step toward him felt like a final goodbye. He leaned back in his chair, brow arcing slightly at your stiff posture. What is it? You swallowed, forcing the words out. I came to talk about something important. Jungkook's gaze sharpened. Go ahead. You placed the folder on his desk with trembling hands. It's a resignation proposal, my formal notice. For the first time in a long while, Jungkook's expression broke. His eyes widened. What? You bit your lip, keeping your tone even. I don't think I can continue here. I have tried to keep things professional, but my personal feelings, your voice faltered, your throat tightening. They are getting in the way, and that's not fair to you or to this company. Jungkook sat straighter, his voice low but cutting. What do you mean, personal feelings? You exhaled shakily. There was no going back now. I like you, you admitted, eyes fixed on the desk instead of his. More than I should, more than an employee should ever like her boss. Silence blanketed the room. The hum of the city outside felt too loud. You forced yourself to continue, each word laced with both honesty and regret. I see you with Hannah, and I couldn't control the jealousy. It's ugly. It makes me feel like I'm intruding on something I have no right to touch. And the truth is, your voice cracked. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to come between you two or let my emotions ruin the work. Jungkook's jaw clenched, but he didn't speak. His silence made it harder, sharper. You bowed your head slightly. I'm sorry for being unprofessional, for letting myself feel things I shouldn't. You trusted me with this role, and I failed you by being weak. His chair scraped against the floor as he stood, and suddenly he was in front of you, tall, overwhelming, his eyes searching your face. You think you failed me? His voice was low, incredulous. By what? By caring? You looked away, tears stinging your eyes, by crossing a line that should never have been crossed. I told myself I wouldn't get attached, but I did, and now the only way I can make it right is to step back. Your hand slid the folder closer to him. Please accept it, before I make a bigger mess of things. Jungkook's palm pressed down firmly on the folder, halting it in place, his eyes dark and unwavering, locked onto yours. There won't be a mess, he said, his voice low, steady but threaded with something that made your heart falter, because you're not the only one who crossed a line. Your breath caught. What? He stepped closer, slow, deliberate, until the air between you grew tense. You think you are alone in this? That you are the only one guilty of feeling what shouldn't be felt? His jaw tightened, his gaze softened. If that makes you weak, then I'm a sinner too. You stared at him stunned, the words sinking in like a foreign language you barely understood. I, your voice broke. What are you saying? Jungkook's lips curved into a humorless smile, but his eyes glimmered with raw honesty. I'm saying that Hannah has nothing to do with this. She and I, whatever we had, it ended a long time ago. She is a colleague, a friend at best, nothing more. He took another step toward you, close enough that you could see the faint scar along his jawline, the way his lashes lowered as if he was afraid of your reaction. The reason I have changed, the reason I smile, the reason I have learned to breathe without feeling like I'm carrying the weight of the world. It's not because she came back. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. It's because of you. Your lips parted, but no sound came out. Your pulse thundered in your ears. He searched your face as though carving the truth into your very soul. You walked into my office, into my life, and for the first time in years, I wanted to be different. You made me want to be different, to be soft, to laugh and to care. Throat bobbed as he swallowed. You made me want to be someone worthy of standing beside you. You blinked rapidly, fighting the tears threatening to spill. Jungkook, he shook his head, cutting you off gently. Don't you see? You are the reason I am the way I am now. Not Hannah, not anyone else. You. The silence that followed was heavy, filled only with the sound of your shaky breaths and the unspoken words pressing against your chest. For the first time, you realized you weren't alone in this. The silence felt fragile, like glass. One wrong word and it would shatter. You pressed a trembling hand against your chest, trying to steady the chaos inside you. You can't mean that. You are my boss. This can't be right. Jungkook's gaze never wavered. It isn't right. It breaks every rule I built for myself. But when have I ever been able to stop thinking about you? Your throat closed, tears threatening to spill as he stepped even closer. Tried to ignore it, told myself it was just respect, just comfort, just convenience, but every time you walked into a room, it was like the world finally made sense and I couldn't look away. You let out a broken laugh, shaking your head. And here I thought I was losing my mind seeing you smile at someone else and convincing myself you would never. Don't. He cut in gently, his tone firm but tender. Don't ever doubt where my eyes are, where my heart is. Hannah is my past, you are my present, and if you let me, you'll be my future. Your breath hitched. His words weren't practiced or polished, they were raw, stripped of the armor he always wore. He reached for the folder still trapped beneath his hand, lifted it slowly, then tore it in half without breaking eye contact. The sound of paper ripping echoed in the room, final and absolute. There will be no resignation, he said firmly. Not now, not ever, because if you walk away, you won't just be leaving this job, you'll be leaving me. The tears you had been holding back finally fell, spilling hot down your cheeks. Jungkook, before you could say more, his hand lifted, hesitating just a breath before brushing a tear from your cheek with his thumb. His touch was gentle, reverent, like you were something fragile he would die before breaking. I don't want perfection, he whispered. I don't want distance. I want you. With all your fire, all your flaws, all your doubts, stay with me. For a heartbeat, you just stared at him, the weight of his confession settling deep in your chest. Then, with a shaky exhale, you nodded. I'll stay. You whispered back, not for the job, for you. A smile, genuine, unguarded, and devastatingly beautiful, broke across his face, and for the first time since you walked into his office, you felt lighter. The jealousy, the doubt, the fear, it all melted away in the warmth of his gaze. Jungkook leaned forward, his forehead resting against yours, a quiet vow sealed in silence. Neither of you needed to say more. The world outside could whisper all it wanted. Inside the office, in this moment, there was only truth. And for the first time, it felt like the beginning of something real.